Where? Welcome to Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lesson and Dr. Sasha Lesson.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lesson.
Aloha, everyone. We had the music. Aloha, everybody, and welcome to the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And I'm your host, Janet Kira Lesson, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Lesson. And today is an episode of the Sacred Matrix with our special guest, Betsey Lewis, who is an author, internationally renowned psychic medium. She, for years, I think she just retired from Rainbow Vision Network. She was a radio host and Earth Mysteries investigator, and she inherited the gift of prophecy from her mother. Since childhood, the paranormal has been the normal for Betsey. At 8 months old, she experienced her first paranormal event with her parents on a country road in northwestern Idaho late at night when a horrendous noise enveloped their car. And by age 3, Betsey spoke to invisible playmates she believed were her spirit guides. And at age 7, she was chased home from first grade by a massive silver disc. And shortly after this event, she began to experience recurring dreams of cataclysmic earth changes taking place worldwide now. And we're going to skip down to a little bit more about her newest book. Excuse me one moment here. It's called Predictions 2016 and Beyond, The Prophets Speak by Betsey Lewis. Did Apostle John describe Planet X and a shift of Earth's poles in his visions 2,000 years ago? Conspiracy theorists say yes. Sorry, excuse me here. On January 20th, 2016, the world was stunned when Caltech scientists Mike Brown and Konstantin Matvian held a press conference and said that they believe they may have found a giant planet in our distant solar system, possibly the long-sought-after Planet X. But this isn't a new revelation. NASA has known about Planet X, the size of Jupiter, since their announcement in a 1983 press conference, which was suddenly retracted a few days later. So we're going to talk about this incredible new book, and there are some articles lately, announcements about, I think just in the last couple of weeks, more about Planet X and its discovery. And we're going to talk about all that. But before we bring on Betsey, Dr. Lesson wants to say something.
Oh, it's interesting from my perspective about prophecy. You know, if we get past our intellectual idea of what time is, you can really see in a holographic kind of universe that there's threads of us in every aspect, atom of the universe, and every atom of the universe has a resonance within us. And we're already dead, and we haven't been born yet, and we're in many places at the same time. And if you really drop the veil, you start to access these things. And prophecy is a very, very interesting thing. One of the interesting things is when different people have different prophecies that imply totally different universes or timelines, and they can all be true. Anyway, with this to blow your mind, here comes Betsey.
Hi, Janet. Hi, Sasha. Great to be on your show tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, we like having you on our show every several months. I don't think we've gone quite a year between shows because you're such an interesting person. You're a wonderful person to have on your, if you have a radio show. Betsey's awesome. and you talk all the time, which shows that you're, I guess you have, I have to shut off all the phones and everybody knocking on the door and focus. How do you do that, Betsey?
I
What's
don't
your
know. I don't know. Sometimes, things just come to me. I wish I could turn it on, but, sometimes it just flows. And you probably know what I'm talking about. You're just in the moment. You're feeling these things coming through, and you just know it. I call it the knowing. And you know that you're right about these things that are coming through, these intuitive feelings.
Right. So this new book, when did you start this? Was this 2016? When did this come to you, this knowing?
Well, this was about 3 months ago. I always post my predictions on my website. And, I just sit down and I start letting it flow. And sometimes I kind of wonder, what am I writing about? Why am I writing this? It sounds so crazy, And then when things start happening, I go, whoa, I must have been in the flow. I must have been, feeling all these things intuitively. So I like I said, I just feel it flow. I started the book about 3 months ago because I feel that everything is quickening. Everything is accelerating so fast now since the beginning of the year, and with earth changes, with extreme weather. And I just want people to be aware of all these things going on.
Sasha has a question.
Well, just if you've been to the future, and you've already been there, and you're ghosting back to us. What did you notice about the future? We'd like to know.
Oh, well, do you want me to get into some of those predictions?
Okay, he suggests. I think we need to do a little bit more background on what the book is about. We will. That's a teaser. Later on in the show, we're going to get into predictions.
Okay.
And I like to build. So take us through this process here, because we're all ears.
Okay. Well, 2,000 years ago, the Apostle John had visions of the future, and I think he was seeing our future. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen, because I believe timelines can change. But the way we're headed right now, either nuclear destruction, and we know that North Korea, boasted that they detonated a thermonuclear warhead. I mean, that's insane. And, already the atomic scientists have saying that we're 3 minutes away from midnight doomsday, because of our technology and what we're doing with it. So, we're in a really precarious place right now. And I think that's, we've got to start thinking about what we're doing to the planet, not only with technology, but with the environment and how we're destroying it. There's 7.3 billion people on the earth, growing, and we're using up all our natural resources. So if we continue this way, we're going to destroy ourselves. We're not going to have to wait for a comet to hit us, or Planet X to shift the Earth's axis, or any of these things, because we're well on our way to doing it ourselves. But what Apostle John was describing.
I want to go back to Apostle John, because when I was in 1970, I read The Late Great Planet Earth by Hal. I was just a teenager, and I said, well, I'm not really into religion, but what is this book about? And when I read about the Apostle John, I thought, what kind of acid was that guy on, Because he has all these symbology. Have you made any sense of what he's been saying? I know how Lindsay has his interpretation of the four horsemen and all that stuff, but here it is, many, 50, 60 years later. Right. What do you think is going on with John the Apostle, and why is he relevant, or is he?
Well, he is. I think he's really relevant. I'm glad you brought that up, because Hal Lindsey wrote There's a New World Coming, and then The Late Great Planet Earth, like you said, in 1970s. And he believed that John was talking about a nuclear holocaust, where it says, the sixth seal was opened and a great earthquake happened, and the sun became as black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And Hal Lindsey wrote, that He saw that it was a bomb, and he said that a bomb consists of dozens or so nuclear-tipped missiles, which can be fired simultaneously from an orbiting space platform. Because the missiles come straight down from the sky, they can strike several cities instantly and with virtually no warning. And then it says in Revelation 6:13, and the stars of heaven fell into earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And he goes on to say that what he was describing was probably what happens after a nuclear holocaust, that, the winds, just kind of back out and then come right through again and just destroy everything. So, there's that, but John could have also been describing Planet X and what would happen. People being poisoned by the water. If we have huge volcanoes going off worldwide, then the waters are going to be poisoned by what's going off with all this ash going into our waters. And, certainly that is a possibility. But it's just incredible what he described.
So you're saying that what he described, I want to back up a bit. So he said that the nukes were coming down from the sky. So that we've been fighting as a movement here to keep nukes out of space. Of course, the secret military and our governments, they do whatever they please, and I'm sure we're the last to know. So based on reading that again, do you think, you reading those passages, do you think it was nukes in space or perhaps some type of other debris coming down and creating explosions like we had during the dinosaurs, meteorites?
Right.
What do you think it was?
Well, my intuitive feeling, and, I started having dreams when I was 7 years old, recurring dreams of earth changes. I think that it's some kind of, natural event that Planet X will actually shift to the Earth's poles, like Edgar Cayce talked about. And, what really happens when that happens is, the winds will be incredible. There will be hurricane-type winds. And we know that this has happened through the century. Like you said, the dinosaurs were wiped out. We know that the mammoths, in Siberia, they have found them piled up in one area. What kind of horrendous wind did that? Something happened instantly. They found daisies frozen in their mouth. So whatever happens so quickly. They didn't have time to run or get out of the way, or, it just happened instantly. So there is something that has happened. And they say Planet X comes through our solar system every 3,600 years. It's a failed star, or or a brown dwarf, as they say. And what's interesting is that all solar systems have binary stars, 2 suns, and ours only has one, supposedly. But it would make sense that Planet X is also our other sun, our twin sun that comes through our solar system, every 3,600 years. And with this new revelation from Caltech, which is kind of interesting. I was listening to Linda Moulton Howe on Coast to Coast the other night, and she interviewed Dr. Brown, who was one of the scientists that said that they had found this 9th planet. And I know in the original press conference that they mentioned Planet X. But when he was on the phone with her and made this interview, he was saying that he didn't believe that it was Planet X. They haven't seen it. But that's not true, because in a 1983 press conference, NASA said that they had found a heavenly body as large as the giant planet Jupiter, and possibly so close to Earth that it could be part of the solar system. And it was in the direction of the constellation Orion. And they had seen it by an orbiting telescope aboard the U.S. infrared astronomical satellite. So they said the mysterious object that these astronomers know that they don't know if it was a planet, a giant comet, or a protostar, or what it was, but they said it was just huge, and they were mystified by it. They said it's so cold it casts no light and has never been seen by optical telescopes on Earth. And, this is really interesting because this Dr. Brown said the same thing about this object that they found out there. They're calling the ninth planet. And they are saying that it's about 10 times the mass of Earth. And here they're saying that it was 11 times the mass of Earth in the 1983 press conference. And then they retracted it. Isn't that funny? It was withdrawn. And this ran in all the newspapers in 1983 and the Washington Post. And so it was a major story then. Isn't that interesting?
Let me break this down a little bit, because I've been puzzled by that. So, I'm aware of this story. I studied with Zechariah Sitchin, so did Dr. Lesson. And lately we see all kinds of things already around the sun. So they're discovering something that's pretty far out there, but on Facebook and all over YouTube, so you can just Google it. Don't believe it, just Google it yourself. I always say people to research themselves. There are these photos of strange things, planets and groups of planets already around or behind our sun. So I wanted to ask you what you think, and also Dr. Lesson, you to kind of interject on those things. I know Sasha has a question for you. So first to you, Betsy. What do you think is there more than one planet? We might have the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and 13th, 14th, and 15th for all we know. Is that a series of planets and maybe another sun, maybe a group of planets, and then the planets have moons? What are we looking at here?
Right. Well, supposedly Planet X has moons that are following it, and it's bringing in all the space debris. There's been sightings of meteors all over the place in the last few years, and it's bringing in all the space debris with it. It's also, its gravitational pull is just as strong as the sun, so it's competing, with the gravitational of the sun against our Earth. And I was listening to this Caltech scientist say, oh no, this 9th planet couldn't have any effect on Earth. And I thought, that's kind of crazy, because I think everything affects everything else out there. Jupiter, all the planets affect everything. The sun affects us, we know that. The moon affects us. So that's crazy to say that. And I think they did that on purpose, because we're going to start seeing some really weird things this year. Strange sightings in the sky. And like you said, people have seen what looks like a twin sun up there, either, sunrise or sunset. And I saw a California video. It's just was posted not too long ago, and it shows what looks exactly like a huge planet or something next to the sun. It wasn't a lens flare. I know everybody goes lens flare, but it wasn't. You could tell that there was something there, and it was amazing.
Oh yeah, there's sometimes they're calling it lens flare, yet there's two reflections on the ocean. So that's not lens flare. That's some kind of reflecting on the ocean. And so we have we call it Nemesis, is the dark star, the dark twin, the binary star. Planet X is Nibiru. Nibiru is part of a solar system, and then Planet X Nibiru has its own moons. What did you want to say, Sasha? You have a here.
Oh, I agree with both of your analyses. And, of course, one is reminded of the time when Nergal and Nanar dropped nuclear weapons on Sodom and Gomorrah and the south end of the Salt Sea, which became the Dead Sea, at the same time as they bombed the Sinai. And the fallout, it was a nuclear storm that blew all over Iraq, ancient Sumer, and killed everybody. And there was also similar kinds of people dead in the streets from nuclear fallout at Doligara, Mohenjo-Daro, and Harappa. And so that in both hypotheses, usually what I find is when there's two hypotheses, is it nukes, like Lindsay said, was it the coming of Nibiru and perhaps Nemesis, as others have said, and what I would wonder is, couldn't it be indeed both? For example, when Stromboli went off and caused a great big wave that wiped out Egypt and made Moses and his friends flee, that was that's another one of these things where it could be not just Nibiru but the Lagrange points, which are 180 degrees, always staying away from as far as possible from Nibiru, but those things crashing through cause a terrible thing. The Anunnaki get to see it not just they see it as it happened, they see it as it's happening, and because you bend space-time, they see it as it's going to happen. And that's one of the things that happens is it's not just that our space is getting changed by Nibiru coming in, but the time is being changed. The whole space-time is being bent by this intrusion of Nibiru. That's what I think.
You know, I want to jump in there for just a minute. When you said about, nuclear wars, ancient times, there is green glass, and I'm sure you've heard of this, Sasha, that there is green glass found all over the deserts of the world, and they can't explain it. There's no volcanoes to explain it. Lightning didn't cause it. And they found out that in 1945, when they were experimenting with the atomic bomb in New Mexico, that this same green glass was created. Yet, we find it all over the Earth's deserts. So how do you explain that? It has to be nuclear, explosions that were going on, some kind of nuclear wars way back in ancient times.
Well, they've actually done the analysis in the radioisotopes, and they are indicators that there was some type of nuclear explosion, but it was a different, more powerful nuclear type of explosion than what we currently have. So apparently the ancient nukes were really doomsday machines. So let's look at the two theories. So if Planet X comes in, it may wreak all its havoc. From what we know about the history of Planet X, it comes to every 3,600 years approximately. It changes because the interaction of the planets. It sped up last time, so it might be,
3,450 years.
3,450 years.
Right.
However, every time it comes through, it does not always do something.
Right.
So that's one thing. And the second thing is, if this is World War III or nuclear holocaust coming from humanity, let's break that down a little bit. But perhaps it's Finisher. We can always go back to either of them, but tell us more about what your hypothesis that it's Planet X that might create what John saw.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sure. The reason I believe that is because of my dreams, these recurring dreams that I had, that I've always known that something huge was going to happen later in my life. And I saw earthquakes. I felt them. I didn't see them, but I felt them. I saw huge tsunami-type waves coming in on a pier somewhere. There was just incredible weather. There was volcanoes going off. And I had these dreams. I was only 7 years old, and why I would be dreaming these things and having these recurring dreams. And it wasn't like, it was so vivid. It was so lucid that I just knew that this was something I was being shown that would happen. Somehow I must have jumped into this timeline to know that. But look what's happening to our planet right now. And, they say global warming. Okay, well, maybe that's part of it, part of the things, fracking that's going on. But there's something really weird. And I was kind of I have this theory about the mysterious booms that are going on around the world. There was just a huge boom that people heard in New Jersey, and they said that it not only shook the windows, it was shaking the earth, and there was no reports of earthquakes by the USGS. And what's really interesting is I've noted that whenever these huge mysterious booms happen somewhere in the world, a day or two later, there is a major earthquake. So this happened in New Jersey, and of course the Navy said, it was a jet breaking the sound barrier. They were they shouldn't have done it, but that's why all these people were hearing it. And I thought, okay, let's see. I bet there's a major earthquake in the next day or two. And guess what? There was a 7.2 earthquake in Russia on the 30th, the next day. So I think they lied. And I think we're going to hear more lies from them because they don't want us to know what's going on with our planet. We're seeing more deep core Earth movement, and that's what's going on with our Earth. It's moaning. Mother Earth is moaning. We are going to see extreme weather. It's going to get crazier. You think this is crazy now. Rains, wind, just incredible things, especially along coastal areas. There's going to be a lot of flooding, more sinkholes, and some of these sinkholes are being caused by all the water too, of course. But, like in Russia, they've had all these huge sinkholes open up, and they think it's probably because of the melting glaciers and all, and the permafrost, and it's causing all this methane to come up and cause these explosions. But we're going to see that. We're going to see more things coming into our atmosphere. We're going to see some really weird things up in the sky, and people have, Planet X, two suns. People have just captured some really weird things up there, UFO type things. So
yeah. There's another hypothesis, or one of the other causes could be HAARP, too. There's been some talk that some of the tsunami that hit Japan before the Fukushima plant went off might have been a HAARP activity, too.
Right.
The bouncing a sequence of lasers fired in sequence to cause a toroid that hits the ionosphere and bounces at a right angle at its target.
Right. And that's, Tesla was talking about the vibration, that he believed he could split the earth in half with resonance, with vibration. So, I think it's we have that technology. We certainly do. And if people think, it's not true, we don't know half of what our military and governments have out there. We're not seeing the whole, technology that they have, because there's just some incredible things.
Joshua marched around Jericho and with his trumpets. They did some special with sonar.
Yes, exactly. And talk about resonance. I know you're talking about the earthquake in Japan, but it's interesting. There was a 2012 BBC documentary on Nibiru, and they interviewed the Inuit Indians of the Arctic, and they have noticed that the sun doesn't set in the right place, that everything is off, and they think that there was a shift. And this is before 2011, when the big earthquake, the 9.1 earthquake hit Japan, and what it did to the Earth, they're saying that it moved Japan by 8 feet and shifted the Earth's axis by 6.5 inches. So
wow.
Yeah. That's huge.
So maybe it's not one fell swoop, it's a series of little nudges.
It could be. And I think go ahead.
The whole nudges too, about the nuclear war. Whether it's from the sky or not, but I think it was might have been Kishi was basically saying that the Illuminati is doing a nuclear war on humanity. It's just very slow with all the plant leakages and the advanced testing and the underground testing and the accumulation, both underground and in the atmosphere, of more and more radioactivity. That we already are being subject to thermonuclear war.
Well, I know you believe in timelines and time travel, and time as we know it doesn't exist really, because everything is all happening at once. So we have the ability to change timelines, and I don't think all these prophets got it wrong. Maybe it's going to happen in our lifetime, and I hope it doesn't. I really I hope my predictions are wrong, and I hope everybody else's predictions, but so many of these predictions seem to be so right on. Saint Hildegard was talking about a huge comet causing all these earthquakes. Now that she might have been referring to Planet X. It's just interesting how all these, even the indigenous people, have been told by the sky people, the Maya, the Hopi, and they're being told that we're going from the fourth world into the fifth world, that our world is going to change, and it's our wake-up call. It's time for the earth to be cleansed because of all the toxins we've put into Mother Earth. It's time for a big change in Earth to be healed.
Going from one realm to the other, what we are told is called the ascension process, and is that something that might be more positive than negative, that we're actually going from like a level 0 civilization to a level 1 civilization, or one that's connected to spirit and source?
I think so, Janet. We forget that this isn't our real home. Many of us feel we came from another place, and there's that other world, which is the other side, which we call death, but that's the real world. And we've forgotten that. That's the spiritual world. And I think that ETs are part of that dimensional world, that they can enter that dimensional world. And that's why they can go through solid objects. They can actually take people out of their beds and transport them through walls and ceilings, and there's all kinds of stories like that. So we forget about this other dimensional world that it coexists with our own. It's right there, but it's on a higher dimensional rate than we are.
And so that brings to mind that this is some kind of matrix or artificial construct, the age upon which we play out our lives. And so what do you think is going on there? Is this, are we really having a real thing happening, or is this just something to do and something to get upset about and something to determine who you are in comparison with or against? And what do you think on those lines?
Well, I don't think any of us should panic. I think we should all be prepared for earth changes. I think, like I said, that so many people don't know what to do in, these huge storms, these snowstorms that are hitting. People just panic. And I think we have to be more prepared for any kind of weather, any kind of experience, huge earthquakes. This is classroom Earth. We're here to learn lessons, and we'll keep coming back. I think there are going to be some major changes. Many of the prophets and other scientists, Dr. Chet Snow and Helen Wambach, they took people into the future in 1983 and 1985. There was a great group of people, and he wrote about it in his book, Mass Dreams of the Future. And all of these people, they said that they thought something was going to happen with regard to atomic weapons, an atomic explosion, that something was going to change. And the people that pass on would not have an opportunity to come back to this planet for a long time until it's really healed. And, that could be, it may take a long time. And I've kind of felt that, but I think there's going to be a golden age someday. We may not see it. It may not be in our lifetime, but we'll be back. And that's the great thing, because there is no death. We go on. We are infinity. We exist forever.
Do you think we have a choice? What I got when I was on board a mothership, I call it, when I was 4, and once I was in my eternal self, I was given the choice. They gave me, just for an example, 24 different multiverses, ranging from extreme mass destruction of the entire planet, blowing up into stardust, all the way over utopian. So, to what degree do you think that we are the chooser, that we can, go down that path where we die of horrendous death and experience that, or where we can go on to that, like you just said, the golden age?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's all up to us. The thing is, we're so wrapped up in our technology. We've forgotten that there's, this beautiful world out there, Mother Earth. She always warns us before things happen, before earthquakes. I've learned that a long time ago, that there's always warnings. If we listen, the animals know, they're intuitive, cats, dogs, domestic animals, feral animals, they know these things. And I think that's something that we all have to learn to get back to, that, just this reverence for Mother Earth, that we're connected to her, that everything is connected. And that's something we've totally forgotten, that our connection to everything and every kind of living being, even rocks, the indigenous people teach that how connected they are to everything, and they teach us that to talk to everything. How many people go out and talk to a tree? And a tree is so important in our world. It provides us 200 pounds. One tree provides us with 200 pounds of oxygen a year. They give us medicine. They're so important. Water is very healing. It has negative charged ions. Those are the good ions. You walk near moving water, you'll feel, energized again. Mountains have that negative ions. When it rains, that's negative ions too. When we get those dry winds, like California has the Santa Anas, those are the positive charged ions, and those can make us irritable. And I've seen people get in more accidents when I lived in California. I noticed that all the time, that the Santa Anas just made people really angry and irritable. And it really is true. But, there's many stories of civilizations that have died. The Australians have a legend that they came from a galaxy far away, and their planet was dying, and they came here in spirit form when they first came to Earth, and they saw that the Earth was out of balance. It needed an energy grid around it, and so they put this grid around it. But they say right now the Earth is out of balance because we're taking all of Mother Earth's lifeblood from her. We're taking the oil out of her, the uranium, the water, the gold. We're taking everything that is needed to hold that balance, and she's out of balance right now. So there's these beautiful legends, of the indigenous people around the world about the Earth and how connected they are. It's people all the time, and we don't. I know some of us have, like you two, but people don't, because they're just not in tune with those things. We believe, and we're connected with our cell phones and our gadgets to even notice that there's UFOs out there all the time.
Question. Hold on. It's really hard to make out what you're saying. For some reason, it's getting warbled here, but it's interesting that we don't necessarily have to wait for our great-grandchildren to have a utopian existence. Eric Erickson has put it out a long time ago. But to some degree, every time, and it's always the best of times and the worst of times, but some people make it the best of times, and you can create your own utopia among the people that you do interact with to a great degree. I would say you don't have to just live during the apocalypse. You can live now.
You're kind of breaking up there, Sasha. I didn't catch all of that. I heard you say something about the apocalypse, but I didn't hear the whole.
Yeah, for some reason we're breaking up. I'm going to talk to our producer, see if we can correct this. But tell us a little bit more about your book and your intention of the book and the prophecies you have. And we'll go ahead and take 2 minutes here and try to see if we can correct this warbling that we're getting.
Oh,
go ahead.
okay.
Thanks.
But okay. He had his prophecy, of course, that the Earth was going to shift. Some people think he meant a magnetic shift of the poles and a real physical shift of the poles. He lived from 1917 to 1945. He was a sleeping prophet. And he's probably one of the world's best psychics, who gave thousands of readings in a trance-like state pertaining to the past whole shifts and future shifts, and by Egypt and Atlantis, he gave readings to people to help them with all kinds of illnesses. He gave many people of things, and it was amazing. Somehow he was in tune with a higher source. But it's interesting that he said that a shift of the Earth's poles will be accompanied by a change in consciousness of humanity. And I thought that was really interesting, that, you know, he the word to be that golden age. Sometimes things happen in our world, disasters happen in our world. People come together. Maybe we need that awakening to bring us together, because we, you know, I've noticed that we're so separated. We're just not united anymore. We seem so angry at everyone. I don't mean you and I, but I mean we see in the news all the time the anger and everybody wants to shoot everybody. And, you know, it's just insanity out there. We just want to stop the insanity, and maybe with something big would, you know, I hope it wouldn't be a Mad Max scenario. I would hope that we would come together, that this would bring people together.
Okay, we're having great difficulty hearing you, and I don't know. But we go to keep going. Any questions that you asked, or we have for you? Okay, so let's see. You were talking about safety of the guard. Okay, she talked about that one to the guard that was female. But to the guard, St. Hildegard, this woman, and St. Loki, that was born in Ireland in 1894.
Okay, Hildegard. Okay, I couldn't hear you at first. Yeah, Hildegard was interesting, and she was talking about pretty much the same thing as John the Apostle. She lived from 1090 to 1169. She was a German writer, philosopher, Christian mystic, and you know she said that she saw that.
Sorry, just pause right there. Sean's going to try to reconnect you.
Okay.
So just bear with us 1 moment.
Okay.
Sean, go ahead and try to get back in with a better connection. Okay, so Sean is going to reconnect Betsey. We're having a very interesting conversation. Is
that better?
Better, yeah, it's better. Okay. So we're talking about Hildegard, and so we can hardly hear you, but Hildegard was 1098 to 1137, a vision of a red comet that will cause huge earthquakes, storms, and tidal waves worldwide.
Right.
He's referring to a great comet after hitting Earth, the planet X, and traveling through our solar system.
So, you know, maybe she was referring to, maybe she had visions of Planet X, which is kind of interesting. You know, the Earth, you know, the
Okay, we're still having technical difficulties. So what I'm going to do is see if we can hear on the show via the phone. Sasha, we'll talk about the next bureau a little bit while we are doing technical difficulties.
Okay, yeah. A.R. Gordon had talked about how Lincoln Institute was concerned about the difficulties that Earth might be having by the coming in and going through Nibiru to its energy with stars, its closest to stars. But evidently they are able to create some kind of barrier to time-space. They say that the danger is vast, and that we see from evidence and so that there's some huge ship blasting debris in the area of the sun that would otherwise come to Earth. And so it's my opinion that if you're into doing apocalypse, go for it. But there's another possibility, which is have a lot of fun, love your neighbor, and have good life right now, and have them wrong in your dad. You don't have anything to worry about, but if you're alive, you'll have a good time. Good job.
Okay.
Hi, I'm back on there. Can you hear me, Wayne?
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you were trying to reconnect you on a Skype or on your phone, but I gave him a phone number for you just in case we start getting warbly again. Are you on Skype or on your phone?
A guy, but if you want to call me back on my home line, that would be fine. I have the number.
Okay.
Want to try that?
If you want to, I have a phone number. I'll tell him to call you. Okay, good.
All right.
Okay, thanks. So keep on talking, Josh.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Anki and the Lost Book of Anki and other stuff says the past, the future shall be. The problem is that when you look at the past, as I have to be honest with many reporters, they're not different pasts. The pasts are really their organization, their cognitive elements to justify their present position, their current goals. And so I think that it's really important to, in a way, embrace the ending, the apocalypse, and the beginning, the enlightenment, and just realize that you are both finite and infinite, that you have a body that's going to die, or the thought of this body, which is what keeps your molecules together, will come to an end, and that gives you an intensity in this life to really live it to the full and be kind to yourself and the people in your life.
Betsy, are you there? Okay, I think so. I'm trying to call. There we go. Okay, we're all on phones. Can you hear us again?
Yeah, I can. You're coming in right now. Yeah, it was really bad. Maybe we have some aliens messing with us tonight.
Well, Skype has been very warpy lately. I hope that in the next 5 years or something else comes out on Skype, because I'm on countless shows and we have the same difficulty. Every time we get into the subject, it gets really, really interesting. While we're up, we get into this distraction. So there might be something to that, but yeah, who knows?
That's what you get for calling the telephone company.
Yeah, that's to use the telephone company to use them. Okay, so let's get back to our questions for the interruption. We are going to be going, we have about 8 minutes or whatever, I can't count, to the top of the hour. So, now who was this Saint Malachy?
Do you want me to talk a little bit more about Hildegard? Because I don't think that came out too well. Do you want me to just kind of go over that real quickly, and then we can go on to the next one? Malachy?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, she predicted that the great nation will be devastated by earthquakes, storms, and great waves of water causing much want and floods. So the ocean will also flood many other countries. So the whole coastal cities will live in fear, with many destroyed. All sea coastal cities will be fearful, and many of them will be destroyed by tidal waves. And it kind of reminds me of my dreams. Most living creatures will be killed, and even those who escape will die from a horrible disease. And, that sounds terrible. And a powerful wind will rise from the north, carrying heavy fog, and the densest dust, and it will fill their throats and eyes so that they will cease with their butchery and be stricken with a great fear. So doesn't that sound like it could be, it could be a nuclear event too. It doesn't have to be side axis or something, shift to the Earth's axis.
How did she become a saint? Was she over this, or what was her claim, I wonder? Yeah. Well, like we said, you had John who went into Taco 2, and now St. Hildegard is somehow seeing visions of this doomsday scenario.
And those with positive vision, Jesus into our land and they kill.
Right. So, yeah, is there an agenda to have us believe it's coming, and part of our belief, we all get around it, and we make it, we actually pull it into existence by all believing in this apocalypse show?
You know, you guys it's just picking up really bad.
Yeah, we're going to break in like 5 minutes.
Okay. Maybe that'll be better, yeah.
Very bad connection. Let's just power through a few more minutes. I was just saying that here we have another negative vision of a doomsday scenario for humanity. It's pretty horrendous. I'll just keep going. Go ahead and keep going another 3 minutes, and we'll get reconnected.
The way they were shown those visions, you know, were they things that could be changed? I believe they could. And many of the indigenous people say that we can lessen events if we come together. We start showing reverence for the earth. We start, you know, cleaning up our mess that we've made. You know, we're not going to have any extraterrestrials save us from what we've done, you know, to the planet. We have to clean up our own mess. And that's our lesson. And that's why we came here, you know, to learn these lessons. So, you know, the sooner we get it, because, like they said, we're just a few minutes before midnight doomsday, on the doomsday clock. And you know, we have to awaken now to the environmental problems that we're presenting. And our oceans are dying. Every day I read about what is going on with the oceans and what we're doing. We have to wake up. And I know it sounds like a horrible thing. We want to stick our heads in the sand like ostriches and forget that, you know, these things aren't happening. But we do have to awaken to it. We have to realize that we can all do something. You know, but as the Dalai Lama says, if you think you're too small to do anything, try sleeping with a mosquito. And it's so true, because each of us can do something to help, to speak up, speak our truth out there, to get out, clean up the planet, clean up trash. You know, I see trash all over the place. People just throw trash everywhere. And, you know, recycling, there's so much you can do.
Right, we have the microcosm effects, the macrocosm, so perhaps if we start and do what we can do first in our world, since everything's connected and everything's one, we will indeed affect the magnetic field, which will resonate out to all of creation, and perhaps like the 100th monkey, by our little actions here, we will affect the grand on, and they will start doing the same thing, and they won't even know why. Because they're going out garbage. Things like that. It's what I've been getting lately.
Yeah, I believe we can change the outcome of things. I don't think we're doomed to have these things happen. I think we're powerful, and I think thoughts are things. I think we have the power. Our thoughts are actually creating our world, our matrix, if you want to say. You know, and that's been proven how powerful when we come together. You know, it says in the Bible, two or more are gathered. You know, we can move mountains, and we can. You know, it's better that more people come together, but we can. We can change the outcome of all these horrible things. We can change timelines. So,
right.
You know,
we can. Don't like the timeline they are on, just shift the channel, shift lanes, and just imagining it at first, but it actually does happen. And then decide you're on a new timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Exactly.
So we're going to break here in seconds. I think what we will do is kind of go through the negative stuff and finish on that for the first part of the second hour, or the first part, and then we'll shift to maybe some positive things that we can do. But we have a lot to get through, so after we get through it all, I will shut up more after the break and let you talk. And Sean, you can hear us. And we also thank you. Please, at the break, reconnect us as we answer.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Tune in Tuesdays at 12 noon Eastern on Studio A to hear Tammy Abbott share her knowledge of unknown realm on Talking with Your Angel. Join Tammy as she uncovers hidden secrets about the spiritual world of angels, ghosts, and other entities that have been with us longer than we know. Tammy is a psychic, a teacher, spiritual coach, a leader in her field. We'll be sharing her information and stories with you. So join us on Tuesdays at noon on Studio A. With Tammy's guidance, you'll find out who has been watching over you from the outside, and soon you will be talking with your angels.
The opinions expressed on this programs and its website by hosts, guests, call-in listeners, or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to the host.
Welcome back to the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio.com. I'm Dr. Lesson with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Lesson, and our special guest, Betsey Lewis. Before we get back to our show, which is questions about predictions 2016 and beyond, the book by Betsey Lewis, I'd like to remind everybody to please go to the donation button on freedomslips.com and make your donations this time, $1 to $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever you donate will be great. Appreciate it, and we do. Thank you. Appreciate your donations very, very much. So, let's see. So, what would you like to say?
Well, a possible apocalypse scenario that people seem to be predicting, especially that caused by the disrespect for consciousness, by the Illuminati that creates wars and economic slavery and political and stuff like that. We could look at it as the essentialists do. That evil for consciousness is what gives meaning to our life. If we don't like ugliness, then beauty becomes purpose. If we don't like injustice, then justice becomes our purpose. And so that in a way, it's not that we ever get anywhere, and whether we get killed or whether we get whatever happens, the point of the path and how we walk the path rather than where we get. It's in my humble opinion.
So, Betsy, are you still there? Are you with us? And welcome back.
I am here. Janet and Sasha, my husband's been listening. He said it's just horrible. He can't understand anything. It sounds like they're underwater talking. And that's what I'm hearing, every other word. And I was thinking maybe we better try this another time because it's so bad.
Well, we're
I want to come back again, and we can do it again when we can hear each other.
I want to try one more thing. I have a third try. So go ahead, Sean, and let's try that before we throw in the towel. Okay. Can you hear us? We're trying the third option.
You're sounding a little better there, Janet.
Okay, great. Let's try that.
Okay.
Okay. I have a lot of listeners that are really interested in this information, and I think we can get through this. And so let's continue with your list of information regarding the prophets of yore, and then on into your prophecies.
Do you want to get into like some of the ET contactees and what they've been told by the ETs?
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, one of the more famous ET contactees is Betty Andrews and Bob Luda. And Raymond Fowler investigated their story and wrote several books on the Watchers. And they were told by the ETs that they are the gardeners of Earth and that they travel throughout the universe, putting people and animals on many different worlds. And I'm sure they terraformed our planet too. I just feel that. But and that's where our legends come from. That, you know, the sky beings or the gods of the sky, these were actually ETs. And, you know, we have legends throughout everywhere about flaming chariots in the ancient Indian texts, about great wars and everything, and certainly, you know, that makes sense. But they were also told that that's why they're creating the hybrids, and that's, you know, because we are destroying our planet, and they are creating, you know, a new race. So, you know, it all makes sense what's going on. A lot of people think that they're evil, or Betty believed that they were angels. She always felt, she didn't feel anything negative. She was in contact with the Greys and also the ones she called the elders that looked more human-like, but they seemed to be also cloned, which was kind of interesting. And they were all male in white robes. They had gray hair, and she watched them do some incredible things. They would stand together in a circle, and they would start chanting, and they would create this incredible circle around them, this kind of I don't know how to describe what they were saying. They were seeing, or what she was seeing anyway, but they were creating this energy that is so intense when they were chanted. And she said it was just incredible. And then 3 more of the ETs joined in where they were doing this and creating even more energy. And that's kind of interesting. So, you know, I think they've been trying to show us certain things we could be doing. I feel so sorry for our planet right now. I feel sorry for the generations, the younger generation, because they have no idea. I wish they could be taught some of these spiritual things. Instead, you know, they have no idea. They have no clue, because these children that are coming into the planet, and I want to talk about these new children. I know you've seen them too. Some of these children, I think, are actually hybrids. I think many of these kids coming in, they are telepathic. They are so psychic. Some of them can do telekinetic things. They know past lives. They remember past lives. They see the other side. They see spirits. It's just incredible. And because parents that have these children don't know how to accept them. You know, many of the children seem like they're ADHD. They seem very so hyper. They can't concentrate. Like they're dyslexic. They're autistic. But actually, you know, they are just vibrating at a higher level. They remember where they're from. They remember. We're the ones that have forgotten, and I'm reading this incredible book. Oh, I love this book. I haven't finished yet. Memories of Heaven, and it was written by the late Dr. Wayne Dyer and D. Garnes. And these are stories from people around parents from around the world that have written to them and told them about what their children say. And, I'm just stunned at what they tell them about remembering God. And these are children like 3, 4 years old that remember what it's like to be on the other side, and that they pick their parents. They talk about how they saw their parents before they came in to their physical body, or they remembered them from a past life. And, as they start getting older, they forget. The memory starts fading more and more. They remember maybe a grandfather, an uncle that passed away, never met them, describe them perfectly. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful story, and I hope people will pick it up. It's called Memories of Heaven, and it came out not too long ago.
That's by Wayne Dyer, is that what you said?
Yeah, Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Oh, Wayne Dyer, okay. Yeah, he passed last year, so he's over there. So that's fascinating. I've met a lot of children that are just so aware of where they came from, and we have a lot of confidence, and they look at us like, what are we all freaked out about? And, they just seem to be super children. And they're amazing. They're just absolutely amazing, especially here in Valley. It's a very open a spiritual community, and these kids come in and they're not stifled by their parents that, cloud their memories with a lot of shoulds and shaming and ridicule. So I think, to listeners out there, if you have these magical children, that it's better to encourage them to tell you what they've seen and remember, and then you might learn something. You have to listen sometimes instead of, reacting. And when you do, it like Wayne was discovering, is that you get a lot of incredible stories about what's going on when we're out of these bodies. So what are the things, in your cosmology, what is happening when we're dead?
Repeat that again. I didn't quite catch that, Jana. I'm sorry.
Through your cosmology, what have you discovered is happening when we're dead? On the other side before we come in here.
Okay. Good question. I've always known that, the other side existed. I've always known that. And I've always felt the presence, the loving presence of guardian angels or spirit guides. My sister comes to visit every holiday. She always loved holidays, and she's always turning off our radio, and she sent me little messages. She turned off my radio, this little radio that we have near our kitchen when we play the 60s and 70s radio station. And the first time is she turned it off when the Jackson 5 were playing Never Can Say Goodbye. And before she moved with her husband to Argentina, I didn't get to see her when she passed away over there, but she didn't want to say goodbye to me. And, I understood that. She'll never say goodbye, never can say goodbye. And then over the recent holidays, she was turning off the radio all the time. And then one day I think it was December 5th, or maybe, it was January 5th, that she turned off the radio when the Supremes were saying, someday we'll be together. So I know she's my guardian angel now. I thought that was so cool. I know she's around. I've seen flashes of her. I haven't seen her physical body, but one day I was walking through the hallway and my dog was there near our laundry room, and I saw this wavy energy. It was like I could see this shadow and this wavy energy, and there's nothing there that would, even create that. There's no trees outside that window. There was nothing to create that. So I know that I've seen her presence. And our cat, one time, the first time he saw her in the hallway, he freaked. His hair was on end, and he was hissing. And I said, Comet, that's his name, Comet. And I said, Comet, it's okay. It's just Kathy. And he settled down. And since then, he's been fine. He understands, you know. My sister loved animals. So, but, you know, it's amazing. Animals do see spirits, especially cats. They're so in tune. Do you have cats or dogs?
Oh, my goodness. We have 10 cats because we're in the jungle.
Oh, my God.
So we feed them. They come to us and we socialize them and feed them. And so they're all over. But they're such incredible creatures. Go ahead, Sasha.
Well, I just wonder if you were to identify with the spirit of Kathy. As Kathy, what is it that you want Betsy to know? If you could just summarize, what do you want Betsy to know, Kathy?
What do you think Kathy wants you to know?
What do you? Okay.
What do you think your spirit wants you to know? Yes.
Well, I think she since she passed away, that was in 2003. She's been visiting and I just think she wants me to know that she's here and that not to be frightened of the other side. I've never been scared of dying. I know what's on the other side, and I'm sure that my sister and I will be back together and other lifetimes and share that together. So, you know, I know that. You know, my mother came to visit after she passed. It was kind of interesting. When my mother passed, it was just before she had passed, which is really weird. I was in a grocery store, and all of a sudden I just had this psychic feeling that her hand was on my hand, because she had the ability to astral project. She could be in two places at once. And all of a sudden I saw my left hand actually morph into her hand. It was like her hand was right on top of my hand. And I stood there for just a moment, and I went, oh, my gosh, you know, it just happened so quickly. And I knew she was telling me goodbye. And, wow. You know, it was just amazing. Yeah. So I've had those confirmations. For a long time after she passed away, I would feel like somebody was running a feather on my face, and that's always a sure sign of spirit connecting with you. And I know many people say, well, I've never had anything happen, you know, and I think people forget that there are signs out there, and we just don't notice those little signs when they come to visit us. You know, sometimes a book will fall off the shelf and it'll land on a certain page, or we'll hear a song when we turn on the radio over and over, and it was, you know, a loved one's favorite song. I mean, that's not a coincidence. That's them communicating.
From dead celebrities.
Really? Do you really?
Oh, yeah. Michael Jackson, when he died, he just kept playing whenever you need me, I'll be there. Okay, that was like, as soon as I heard about his death, I was in a deposition, and then I got all freaked out because they were, you know, they're very attacktive. It's like witch trials, and so my heart started going tachycardia, and he just spoke out of my ear, and he said, "Tell me I'm sick," and so I said, "I'm sick." It just came out of me, and that was a magic word. They all gathered their papers, and they said, "We're going to reschedule, and we're going to let you go. You're not feeling well." I was like, "Whoa!" I didn't imagine that reaction. So when I drove home. They never did reschedule, so I got out of that one. But when I drove home, his songs, the early ones especially, were just playing over and over. And I tried to ignore it. I would get up at night. It's like, oh, they're going on and on, his songs. Please stop. I want to go to sleep. So the next day I said to Sasha, I said, honey, I think Michael Jackson's haunting me. So we did a hypnosis session, and he came through. Now that was 2000, I guess he died in 2009 or something. And then recently I had David Bowie, and I'm not a David Bowie fan. I mean, in particular, I'm aware of him as a person, but once again, David Bowie was talking to me, and so we did like a hypnosis session, and he did not expect to die. He thought that something was going to happen, and he wasn't done. So he's he basically, both of them, they said, we're not going over. I guess there's a point you can cross over and you're kind of there and not here. They said, this is the greatest show ever, and they're going to stick here. I guess once you're out of body, you have an awareness that there's things going to happen, and they want to be here rather than somewhere else and miss it.
Wow,
so that's a little
that's
side.
amazing.
Oh, and then my dad came to me 3 days after he was out of his body, and he definitely gave me, indications that wasn't, I wasn't making it up. It wasn't. He was really there. He gave me personal signs. And then my mother, same thing. Oh, and at the moment of my mother's death, for my brother, she made this light go on and off. And for my sister, she went back into the hospital room because they called her, and she was in the car, and they said, you got to come back up now. And she was there. My mother had just left her body, and her mouth was open, and she saw the body from across the room. But my mother came right up into her ear and said, Louise, real loud. So,
wow.
Yeah, I think they continue.
It's just really interesting. Besides whatever is external to us, we have introjects of the parents, like the voice of each of our parents that speak to us. But as we mature, our concept of them matures too, so that the deceased one becomes wiser and wiser as we become wiser and wiser.
Right. Oh, that's so true. And I hope people become more aware of things. Even when dragonflies or butterflies fly around us and they keep circling around, that's also a sign from our loved ones that they're there. My sister loved dragonflies, and I've had dragonflies that just, circle around me back and forth. And my husband is always laughing. He says, "Oh, Kathy's here," because it's just amazing. Yeah. So watch for those signs out there, everyone, because our loved ones are here. It's not like they're up here or down there, or they're right here with us. They can be here in 2 seconds if we call their name. They're right here listening to us. They're watching over us. And a lot of times when we get, that little voice inside our head that warns us about, watch out, there's a car coming up, that could hit us on the freeway, or we get some kind of inspiration, that's coming from them. They're like our little guardian angels, always watching over us.
I agree. Right. So if you notice your guardians, can you start a dialogue with them? What do you think? Sasha wants to say something. You want to say something?
Just about one of the interesting things about the guardians in alchemical hypnotherapy. After you burn the church and the false teachings, you bring Jesus out or whoever. If there's a wise person, you say, "Are you really my guide, or is there another guide that's better for me right now?" And it might be someone you know, or it might be Kuan Yin, or somebody you never heard of. But you can, who's the appropriate guide for you keeps changing too.
Right. And, when we get on the other side, a lot of people wonder what it's like. If there's the pearly gates up there and there's harps playing and there's angels flying around. If you want to believe that, that's what you'll see, because you are creating your pure energy. You are, like an orb. You can create whatever you want. You can build a house over there. It was like what dreams may come. And I think we talked about this one time, with Robin Williams. Right. That was such a great movie. And that's what it's like on the other side. If you believe in hell and you feel that, that's where you want to go, you'll see a hell for a while until, your guardian angels will wake you up, and say, hey, this isn't the way it is. You're doing this. You do have a life review when you get over there, because you experience everything that you've thought, every action you've done, everything that you've done, both good and bad. And you're the judge. There is no one there to judge you. You are your own judge. And, when you get ready to come back to the earth, if you want to, you can go to another planet if you want. But here is an excellent place to learn even faster. and it's a little tougher to live here because of all the things that we have to go through, because Earth is really a hard place to live. I mean, there's evil here. There really is. And we have to confront that all the time. So that's where the greater growth is. That's why there's evil. If everything was perfect here, how would we grow? How would we grow spiritually?
Yeah, I think it's useful to start with everything we have chosen this existence exactly as it is now. That's perfect for our growth and evolution at this moment, and it couldn't be any other way, and we know that because that's the way it is.
Right.
I have a question. What do you know about, can people get out of the cycle of birth, life, death, or reincarnation? Is there like escape velocity, a way to get out of this matrix of the cycle, and how does that happen?
Sure, you can do that if you want to. A lot of people just don't want to come back here, and that's fine. You can still evolve on the other side and become a guide, and there's classes on the other side, believe it or not. We can learn to take anything, or learn more about the cosmos, about God. And so many people have come back to say that they have felt the presence of God, pure light, and what it's like there. There are no lies on the other side, because you hear everybody's thoughts. You are just a pure person. There's just no games on the other side. There's no pain. You don't need food on the other side, certainly. I was reading this one book about channeling Eric. Dr. Medhus was on my show. Has she been on your show yet?
No, we'll have to have her on. Tell me a little bit more about her.
Well, her son committed suicide. He had, excuse me, he was bipolar, and he shot himself, and he came back through a medium that started channeling him. And some of the things he talks about, he has a great sense of humor. He's very funny. I guess his mother started seeing all these weird things going on, and even his grandfather, who lives in Sweden, said that he saw his grandson appear as a little boy and actually sit on his lap, and he didn't believe in the afterlife. I mean, he didn't believe in anything, and this just really shocked him. I mean, he saw him in the physical form and felt him actually as a little boy, the way he was, because he was a teenager when he committed suicide. And there's been all these incredible things that have happened. She's captured all these orbs. He does the orbs. He can make things smell really stinky when he wants. He's a practical joker. He really is. But he's described in books. She's got a couple of books out, and they're really amazing about what the other side is like, and what he does. He still kind of wants to do the things that he did on this side, with having his music and if that's what you want. He's talked about how his guardian angel has helped him learn different things, how he's learned to actually make physical things move. It takes a lot of energy on the other side to move things, but he can move things too. Yeah. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and apparently there's a series of books by Dr. Michael Newton Institute, and Dr. Michael Newton started it about 45 years ago. But, like you were saying, you learn how to do things. You learn how to move things. You learn how to manifest from non-material into material. So, and then you have jobs. And
right.
Some people, go ahead.
Do you remember the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze? And he's learning, after he was murdered, he has to learn how to move things because he needs to warn Demi Moore, who's his girlfriend, who's really in danger. And this ghost that's on this train is showing him how to move a tin can, right? And he has to put all this emotion into it to make it move on the other side, from the other side anyway. So, yeah.
Great. That was cool. What about people that are stuck in between? What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think, our planet, needs to have our whole atmosphere cleared up. I think there's just a lot of misguided people out there. I'll call them souls, entities that are trapped by their own will. They could go on and they could, do what to evolve or go into the light or, but they want to stay trapped. They don't want to believe that they're really dead, some of them. Some of them are very angry, and that anger holds them earthbound. They're, what we say are ghosts. So some of these ghosts haunt places because they're angry, and they still have that anger. Either they were murdered, they died in some tragic way. Have you ever experienced any ghosts?
Oh, lots. Yes, lots. I came in with ghosts, and when you're a child and you're taught that the world is one way, and then here's this lead through from other dimensions, you tend to get frightened, or I tried telling friends. I used to have them come over and, do you believe in ghosts? Yay or nay? They come over. Most of them went home believers. My house was quite haunted, or maybe they were coming to see me. I was the attraction. I'm not sure exactly how that works. But I wanted to also ask you, we hear stories about the archons and interdimensional beings, and some of them are extraterrestrial, and they can come through the dimensions. Some of them are demonic, and they can take possession. What do you think? And then some are angelic at the highest realm, and they're here to support and love us. What do you think about all these? Are they in the same place? Are ghosts and interdimensions in the same place as when we go we're dead, or is that a different place?
Well, I think there are many dimensions, and I think we can travel through them. In fact, Eric, he said that when he passed over, and taking your own life is really a bad thing. I think there are many types of suicide, but he did it in a selfish way. I think he had, mental problems because he was bipolar and he had some other things going on. But I think that, in his case, he said he went to a place that was really dark, and he felt all these entities that were like, not hell, but just, confused entities crying out, and just a horrible dark place. He went, instead of going through light, he said he went through darkness for a while, and he said he was very confused, and he was wondering, am I in hell, for what I've done? He felt a lot of remorse for what he did, the pain that he caused his mother and his siblings and his father and everybody that loved him. He was feeling that pain, but he came out into a place of light, and it took a while. I think many entities that do commit suicide go into a healing place. Some sleep for a while until they're actually healed, mentally healed. But there's many dimensions, and I think ETs are part of that dimension, and I think they can travel through many dimensions. I think there are demonic type beings too that live in a lower place, and sometimes they come through into our physical world. And I think there are people that actually try and pull them in. And horrible things do happen. I think there's a lot of teenagers that try and, get into that with the darker entities, and that's not a good thing to do.
Well, that's encouraging that's encouraging that he was able to come through the very dark place into, so those who have people who have killed themselves, they have that chance to come through.
Well, people
what about, go ahead. You might want to say, I'm sorry, I interrupted your train of thought. What else did you want to say about that?
No, I was just going to say that people that drink a lot bring in those lower entities. And, some of these people that become very angry are actually being possessed by these entities because they are just allowing this. They have actually given up their bodies when they drink or they do a lot of drugs. And, it's an easy way for demonic.
About that when you do a lot of drugs and drink, and you're opening up your chakras, you're opening up your aura, and you're allowing them to jump in and take possession. A lot of people that are dead, discarnate, they still have addictions to smoking and alcohol and those types of drugs, and then they try to do it through you. If you're doing it, it's like they're going to hang around, and eventually if you leave an opening, you open yourself up to possession. Right, Sash?
From my perspective, there's a part of people that I call the contactor that either allows, that it gives consent to letting the demonic even, or the hungry ghost, or the ET communicate with you. And you may have repressed the experience, and you may have repressed or don't remember that you have a part of you that has consented. But in this whole universe, if you take the position that you are the cause of your own what you get, then you can start to say, there's a part of me that is making this contact, and I'm making it for a reason, and I want to know whatever is contacting me, what it has for me, what it needs of me, and what it can give to me, too.
Yeah, right, Sasha, right. Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much we don't know about our world. We're just getting into some of this quantum physics and dimensional things. I think scientists are going to find out so many more things that are just going to be so mind-blowing for all of us about our world, that our world really isn't what we think it is. And I think there's so many different type of entities and creatures out there. I think it's kind of like Star Wars, the original Star Wars, when they go into the cantina and all these weird aliens are in there. I mean, I think there's worlds like that. They don't look like us. Well, why would they? Some might look more human, but I'm sure there are some out there that look pretty scary to us. Anyway, they probably think we look scary,
Right. Well, let's I guess shift to ETs. Tell us a little bit more about your interactions with extraterrestrials. Were they long ago? Are you still having interactions?
Okay. No, I haven't had any for a long time. I get dreams when there's UFOs usually in the area here in Idaho, but no, I haven't had any for a long time. They seem to leave people when you get a little bit older, but I always felt that when I was young that I was given a message, and I know many ET contactees feel that they were given a message. And in fact, I've got an exclusive interview with two amazing people that were abducted in the Mojave Desert in 1989. They haven't talked about their experience for 25 years. They're going to be on my show. And, I did retire, but I'm doing this show because it's so exciting. Ron Felber wrote about the case and investigated, and they're going to be on my show. That's February 15th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time for 2 hours, and we're going to talk about their experience. But, I feel that I had something happen when I was 8 months old with my parents. My parents told me about the event. This was in northern Idaho, northwestern Idaho, and they were attending the university up there. They were traveling through an area called New Meadows. at the time, there was just a few scattered ranches up there, not much around, and they hadn't seen a car for miles. It was late at night. They were going from Moscow, Idaho, to Twin Falls, which is in the southern part of the state, to visit my grandparents and show them their new baby, and that was me, of course. And at one point, they said this horrendous noise enveloped the car. It was shaking the car so hard they thought a plane was going to crash. And it was just, this noise just came on them suddenly, came out of nowhere. And my father, the next thing he remembered was pulling off to the side of the road. There was no cars around. They both get out of the car. They look around in the sky. There's nothing there. There's nothing. The sound stopped. There was nothing in the sky to explain what they had heard and why it was shaking the car. And years later, my mother and I were regressed by Ann Druffel, who was a MUFON investigator, and she's written several books. And we uncovered that there was something that happened. I went a little further with saying that I remembered that we were actually taken up into a spaceship. I felt that we were examined like so many ETs are, or ET abductees anyway. And I just felt, I didn't feel frightened. And I never have felt frightened. But I've had other things happen. I was chased home from school when I was 7 years old by a UFO, a giant UFO in Twin Falls, Idaho. And many children in the same neighborhood saw something that day, but nothing was reported in the newspaper. And I've had other things happen that I can't explain. Missing time. I have something in my hand, in the palm of my hand, that feels really hard, and I don't know if that could be an implant. I don't know. I've never had it examined, but I know many people say they have implants. And it's going to be really incredible to talk to the Hesses about what happened to them. They were held hostage by 3 different types of aliens in the Mojave Desert in 1989. And they said it was so frightening, so incredibly frightening. And what's really interesting, after they were regressed a year later, they uncovered so much that was really, I think, really beautiful about their experience and who these aliens are. But there were 3 different types.
They were afraid at first, but now they're relaxed with it. They're okay with it.
Well, this is a strange thing. They are Mormons, and after the book came out, I mean, they used the real names in the first book. He had a book that came out in 1994 called The Searchers. That was the first book. And they were fine about using their names. And then he decided, because the book was no longer in print, that he would write the book again, rewrite it, under the name Mojave Incident. And it's come out. It's a bestseller. He was on Coast to Coast not too long ago, and he's going to be on there again with the Hesses. But they've decided out of the clear blue that they want to talk about their incident. And I think that's pretty amazing. But I guess their bishop told them that he didn't want them talking about the incident, and they were so afraid that he would lose, the husband would lose his job. People are afraid,
Yeah, that happens sometimes. They get they do lose their jobs. People just aren't going to accept it. However, we are waking up this world slowly but surely by shows like ours. I'm glad you're still doing your show. I was a little bit sad to hear you were retiring, so I'm glad you're, doing it in special occasions.
If you lose your job for being authentic, it's a good thing you lost it.
That's the other point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ways of looking at it.
Well, I guess the reason they decided to come forward now after 25 years, their children are pretty much grown, and they just felt it was time to come forward and tell people about their experience.
Well, we're encouraging more and more people to come out. I think that is disclosure, is the individuals coming out and telling their stories and You don't always have to use your real names, but if you do, that adds credence to your testimonials.
Yeah, there's such widespread pluralistic ignorance with people pretending that the epiphenomena that we're speaking of doesn't go on. They think it's just them, and they don't want to appear. But it's so widespread that it's the lie is the pretense that we're all conventional, because underneath our conventions we have hints in our dreams and our daydreams and the things that we remember. Everybody has had experiences beyond 3D. That's what I think.
Well, I think so. We're all connected. I don't care, what they look like or where they're from. We're all connected. We were created by the same creator out there. And many of them, in the story, they said that they were told that the Supreme Being, something like that, or the One Supreme, sent them on a mission throughout the universe to find out about other worlds, and that's why they were here. And I thought that, now, who is the Supreme One, or the One Supreme? I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, the Anunnaki have a similar thing. They call it the creator of all, or the prime creator.
Right, yeah. There's one thing that Dawn said, that's the wife who experienced that with her husband, Steve. But she said during hypnosis, she said, our universe ends when matter stops mattering to us and starts mattering to them. And I think that's such a strange sentence. Isn't that a weird sentence? I mean, that was really a weird message.
I'll say that one more time.
Okay, yeah. She said, our universe ends when its matter stops mattering to us and starts mattering to them.
Wow.
Very
profound.
Isn't that profound? And then it says, well, what does the One Supreme want? And she answered, for all the galaxies to live harmoniously together. Do we have a separate God from the One Supreme? And the answer was no. And I think, isn't that interesting, though?
Very interesting.
Well,
yeah.
Well, it seems like there is the creator of all, the oneness, the point where it's the Om, where we're all connected, and then we come down subparts and separate and imagine that we're separate beings having separate experiences, and like amoeba, we come together and go apart. And what are you going to say?
Well, it's an alternative to the formulation that you just did, Betsy, which is since wanting is contrafactual, and what is that perhaps the Supreme is manifesting exactly what the Supreme is right now and doesn't want something other than what is.
Right.
Right.
Everything is in perfect order, right, Sasha?
Perfect order.
Your parents' disorder is part of the order. That's when Marduk came back. Basically, he was saying, I've challenged humanity to really look at itself by all the evil.
Oh, yeah, everybody has a role. They get to play the bad guy. They get to play the villain in the play. I wanted to not forget, we started out with your 2016 and beyond predictions.
Oh, cool.
Some of your predictions for 2016? We have about 12 minutes left or so. Or no.
Okay.
Yeah, but
well, and I just want to remind everyone out there that they can go to my webpage, BetseyLewis.com, and see my 2016 predictions. A lot of them, I keep adding things on there, and I put dates when I do add something new. But most of these were put on there just before the new year. And like I said, go to BetseyLewis.com, and Betsey is B-E-T-S-E-Y, Lewis, L-E-W-I-S. But I see some incredible inventions. A lot of these things that we think are science fiction now are going to be invented, like lightsabers from Star Wars. They are going to have lightsabers that will actually stun, paralyze, or kill people eventually. These will be something in our future, and I'm not sure how soon, but I've seen them. They're coming. I believe that our planet is going to see a lot of flip-flop weather, extreme weather, breaking record temperatures, winds, droughts, heavy snow, and like I said, I just want people to be prepared, have any kind of emergency lights and food. It just doesn't hurt, even if these things don't happen for earthquakes or anything that could happen. People just are never prepared. And I guess when they heard that there was a great big huge storm coming back east, everybody ran out and got milk and bread. I don't know. They say that everybody does that when these big storms come up. That's the first thing they get, which is kind of strange.
Toilet paper. Yeah, your toilet paper. The storm is coming.
Right. I've had people saying, there's so many doom and gloomers out there about the economy, and I feel it's going to be a roller coaster ride. I don't see a crash, as many people are saying. I know, oil's falling, and, they're all saying, it's going to cause this huge crash, but I see the stock market.
Reset. Yeah, the global economic reset. Yes, we've been hearing about that.
Right.
So you don't think that's going to really, it's going to be another year of roller coaster, no real crash.
Right. I believe, holographic inserts. I believe that this technology, aliens are using it, and it looks so real, it looks so physical, these inserts, that we think they're real. A lot of these UFOs that we're seeing are actually 3D. Excuse me. Let me get a little water here.
Okay.
That these 3D holographic inserts are, that's what they are. They're not real physical things. I don't know. Did you see that YouTube video of that box-shaped UFO that came out of a vortex that looked like a dark storm cloud over El Paso, Texas?
Yes.
And that was last June. It was incredible. Well, I think that's one of those holographic inserts, and we're going to see more of these things in the sky. I think the only way you can determine if it's holographic insert is just, you'll feel it intuitive if it's real or not real, if it's real or Memorex,
Right.
But we're going to see a lot of these things, a lot more UFO sightings, and strange things in the sky, just a lot of things. People are going to see more of what looks like Planet X in the sky. You may see it near the setting sun. Take photos of it. Get it on YouTube. Let's see. Talked about chemtrails. Many people believe that the chemtrails not only are causing a lot of our problems with our health and everything, but it's also been to cover Planet X. And I know Nancy Leader, Nancy Leader has talked about that too. She gets her information supposedly from the Zetas. But Pope Francis, I continue to see a death of a religious leader this year, and I don't know if I'm seeing Pope Francis or the Dalai Lama, and this might be an attempt to assassinate one of them. So, I just hope they'll be okay. And the mysterious booms. We're going to hear more of these mysterious booms. It's coming deep within the earth. And I know some people are thinking that they've heard them, in the sky, that it might be UFOs. I think that's just how these booms actually echo through the planet. I was in the 1971 earthquake in California, and I'll tell you, when you hear the earth moving, it's really strange. It feels like it's all around you, this noise, and it's really frightening. So I think we're going to feel more of that going on. Sinkholes, yes, from the rain, and just a lot of strange things from these sinkholes, from the warming earth, and methane gas, more methane gas coming through. I see some more saber rattling, especially with North Korea, and some kind of incident between Russia and the United States, probably in Syria. It's not going to be an attack, but it may be some incident, an accident or something.
Who's the next president going to be?
Yeah, I was just wondering how I think that's going to pan out.
Well, I've been trying to see that, and it's weird. I don't know. I'm for some reason I think it's going to be Trump, but things keep changing, and then I heard that the wild card. I've been saying that somebody's going to jump in there at the last minute, and a New York City mayor. He's Michael Bloomberg is saying that he might run as an independent, so that might change things. But I don't see Hillary getting it unless there's some kind of voter fraud. That's what I'm thinking. I put their astrology, what their astrology shows, and it's kind of interesting, all of them. Bernie Sanders, no. He's born a Virgo. He's September 8th. He's behind the 8 ball, you might say. That's not a lucky number. He would be the oldest president if elected. He's 74 now. Ronald Reagan was the oldest, and he was elected when he was 70 years old in 1981. So that, I don't know. Yeah. So who do you think?
I heard that Jesse Ventura is going to announce, throw his name in the hat.
Seriously?
In April or something. So could there be someone that's still going to come up from behind and say, enough of this circus, I'm going to throw my name in the hat, and maybe people get so fed up with the front runners that are, just a bunch of bozos.
Well, yeah, I know. That's what they are. You are right. You are so right, Jan. It's a 3-ring circus out there, isn't it? Oh, my gosh.
It's a circus. It's a circus, yeah.
Some of my friends in Alaska are saying that the northern and western states should join Canada and quit the United States.
There we go. We're going to run away from all this stuff. Well, I have a lot of friends that say, if Hillary wins or if Trump wins, I'm not coming back here ever again. I'm not going to visit here, from around the different parts of the world. But, it would be great to have somebody that we would all agree with. I would like a whole different paradigm. I think 12 would be much better than this. And equal number of men to women. That's what I think will balance this planet. We got to stop having all these men running the planet without having more female voices to balance it.
I know. We do have to have that feminine energy back. The goddess energy needs to come back. Oh.
And women have to be allowed to be women. Hillary's a man. A woman running it, she has to be in her masculine in order to win anything. Any woman has to be in their masculine. And so the whole feminine, the goddess isn't respected. Here we go again. Anyway, that's my opinion.
I think you're right, Janet. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, this has been great.
Pardon?
I want to thank you both again for inviting me back. I love your show. I wish we would have had a little bit clearer, audio, but I think we got better as it went on.
We have 4 more minutes. Let's just wrap it up. Is there anything about your book we didn't cover that you would like to tell people, or your other books? What are your other books? How do they get them on your website, etc.?
Well, this is Predictions 2016 and Beyond, and it does offer ways that we can, change everything, that the indigenous people see us. Even the ancient prophets talked about that that we can change things, that everything is not set in stone. So we do have, even the Hopi have their rock, their medicine rock, their Hopi rock, prophecy rock, and it shows that there are two different paths that we can take, and one is the healing path, and the other one is destruction, and it's all up to us which path we're going to take. My last book was Earth Energy, and it talks about the indigenous people and what they tell us about Earth and how alive it is. Plants, the different experiments that prove that plants are alive and have a consciousness, and trees, all the different stories about trees. And I've just got some great stories in there and how we can help save the Earth, and some great ecology-minded things that we can do to all help with the planet. I've got a book out that was written in 2013, Angels, Aliens, and Prophecy, too, and stories about chemtrails and crop circles and my own alien experiences, and just so many things in there. There's some great time travel, because I've always believed in time travel. Some great stories about John Teeter, the time traveler that showed up in a blog in 2000, and the things that he's told us. Let's see. And then I've got my book, Communicating with the Other Side, and those are my experiences with the spirit world and my angels, and how my life has been saved so many times by, I believe, a spiritual presence. So I guess they want me around for something.
Well, what's your next book? What's your future project?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I've got two things in mind. One is about the reptilians, and I don't know. I'm still thinking about that one, because there's some really interesting things about what people have said about the reptilian aliens and what I've discovered. And then there's another story which is based on fact, about reincarnation and about Jean Harlow. So this is someone that remembered her life as Jean Harlow that I investigated in Los Angeles back in the 70s, and I might write about it.
Well, that sounds very interesting. I once met Marilyn Monroe, and I want to talk to that woman again, maybe 20 years later, and I can't find her, so I don't know if she's still on this side or the next. And we have one more minute. What is your website again, one more time?
Oh, okay. It's BetseyLewis.com, and Betsey is Betsey. Lewis is Lewis. I think I might be on Coast to Coast coming up this month. That's kind of tentative right now. And go to my website and check it out. Got lots of great things on there. Thank you so much.
That was wonderful. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
coming
much.
on. Another successful show. We made it through, even though we had all that difficulty. But thank you, Betsey. Thank you, listeners. Much love and blessings.
Aloha.